Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to your reading today. So we finished the sovereignty readings. I don't know if I've actually put them all into a playlist, but it'll be the last four readings. And now we've shifted and moved. We're in solidly now, I'll say, in September, because today is the 9th of the 9th. And it was really interesting because yesterday I was going to do a reading today from the Maiden, right? But then today it just didn't feel like that was going to be the best message, let's say, or it was going to come through, and maybe it was just not like the best topic of reading for this particular time and space. But we do have the energy of the Maiden. I know how, a lot of the dates kind of like first, second, third, all that. And then even, of course, the eighth generally talks about the Lion Gate. Well, it's just kind of like the, speaking to the maiden. Virgo usually speaks to, like the translation is like a young woman, right? Or young maiden. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to kind of touch on. However, what this reading is actually going to be on is what powerful shifts have occurred in your reality. This could be internal, external. I'm not going to limit it. I'm going to pick three piles, even though they were kind of thinking, when I say they, like my intuition was kind of more touching on two piles, but I think we'll stick with three because that will just give like an extra flavor, right? Even if the piles are all very similar. So let's get to it. We'll pick three piles. Yeah, this one. There's a lot of cards wanted to come through for this, so there must be a lot of shifts happening. Even if you pick a pile and some of it doesn't make sense, some of it does, take what resonates. That's valid for every type of reading from any person, especially when we're doing collective readings, right? Because we have to cover a lot of ground for the amount of people that pick the same pile. However, I was just going to say, yeah, your intuition is going to be really key here for this reading as well. I think there's a lot of shifts happening in general with people, for people, which may feel kind of like difficult for some because it's like coming up to a bridge, right? And some people have already crossed to the other side, and you're seeing people cross, so you know that it's safe. But the land's starting to shift and move, so you either like come across or you stay where you are and kind of like do what you need to do on that side. It's not like the one side's better than the other. It's more like, what do I need to do here, which will allow me to cross at a safer time later. I don't want to just be pulled over. And then some people will just get pulled over because they need to be on that side, regardless of whatever they're doing in this lifetime. So yeah, that's probably just for a few people, but that's what happens, right? We come here to do a particular job and we stay ruminating in a cycle over and over here when we need to be here. If we really do need to be there, then guidance will pull you across regardless. Wouldn't say that always happens to a lot of people. It's just going to be some. But hey, all good things either side of the river you stay on. Okay, so I'll just pull these. Where am I going to put them? I'm trying to get them out of the light. So they're going to be over here. I know it's a bit wonky, but I just want the light to not affect the cards too much. All right, so if you're going to pick pile one, you have the earth with abundance, fertility, harvesting, and logic. So these are crystals, a crystal deck. However, they do have the four elements in it, fire, water, air, and earth. So this one is just coming through as part of that. For pile two, you have Iolite with magical powers, feminine, divine, work connections, and inspiration. Okay. And for pile number three, you have the Carnelian with self-trust. Where do we go? Yeah. Self-trust, relationship rejuvenation, powers of concentration, and healing from abuse. Okay, these will be the three piles. Pick whichever one's called to you. And if you want to watch multiple, go for it. You might even get some information of what's happening to other people in your life, right? And it's good to understand, like, why is this group of people changed, or why is this changed? Why this? It just could be like a good FYI for you. I've been like, okay, I don't need to take this personally. I'm just either resonating in a different way or no longer working with this person on this. That doesn't mean they're bad, doesn't mean I'm bad. It's just like we're going in different directions. We might meet up later, right? Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, hopefully this helps. Down in the description, you'll see the timestamps for each reading. Can jump to those. Other than that, I'll leave you to your reading. Hello, hello, welcome to your reading. Excuse me. So, you have chosen the Earth card with abundance, fertility, harvesting, and logic. I would just say before we even begin, because I know this is about a powerful shift that's occurring, I think there's some part of you, or there is like, I don't know, an aspect where you're waiting for something. There's like this, you'll shift when you're, well, one, you'll shift when you're good and ready, right? Which, fair enough, Earth will move when it's good and ready. It takes more of the longer game to see. But part of you is kind of like, I'll watch and wait before I leave this, or accept it as like closed. And yeah, I think that's absolutely okay if that feels right to you. But that was just like an FYI to maybe someone or maybe the whole group itself before we get into this. And yeah, I just think that just needs to come through. It's like unfinished business, right? It's kind of like you put all your energy into making a project, and like Spirit's like, cool, you've done your part, now it's time to go here. And you're like, but I haven't finished. So like, you have finished, but you want to see like how it turns out. You want to see the end result. And Spirit's more like, that's not what you were kind of contracted for or to do. Like, it's time to do this part. So it's like your choice, right? Your free will. But yes, if you're waiting for something to ding, it's like you can if you want to, obviously, but you don't have to. It's okay that you're being drawn to this next project or this next phase. Okay, so take that as you will. So let's get some cards. There's a lot of, most of these are oracle cards. I mean, there's one tarot, but it's technically like tarot, right? It's not it's like technically tarot, not tarot. When I say tarot, I mean like old school, like traditional tarot. This is more like new age type, not new age as in new age, but it's like more current, up to date kind of like version of it, or it's a more spiritual version rather than day-to-day kind of like happenings. But anywho, let's have a look. I'm going to take these two. Will they fit? Nice. Really pretty cards. I got these from a friend who's also a viewer on Twitch. As a gift, it is the Archetype cards. You've probably seen them. These cards are usually massive, right? These ones are the mini version. I always like the mini versions because they come in a tin for one thing, so it's pretty sturdy and good for travel. So yeah, I can take them with me to places while I, practice my divination in other places, other countries, other towns, other cities, whatever. Okay. I'll grab that one. So these are powerful shifts that are changing in your reality. I'll take this one and this one. Looks like we have plenty of space for cards, so this should be fine. A little bit of sun coming through. It is a little bit late in the afternoon. I decided to go for a walk today. Because I kept getting pressured by Spirit to do some exercise, and like literally I watched about 3 different people doing readings like you're probably watching right now with me, and I think every single one talked about like getting out, exercising and stuff like that, and I was like, okay, I get it. Like, you don't have to like drill it in. I mean, obviously they do have to drill it in, because I probably would have ignored it, but you know. You know. Okay, I'll grab these cards in a sec. Let's take a look at your oracle cards. Okay, so you've got the desert and the thread. Interesting. Things that are changing in reality. The desert kind of touches on what you've kind of already completed, and it is a time to celebrate. Like, it is time to enjoy, reap the rewards from what you've sown, right, and what you've completed. So it's kind of like the shift has already occurred. It's almost like you have an opportunity to jump timelines or jump reality in a sense. It's not so clear cut though. I would say it's not like when you jump reality. Sorry, I was looking at this and I was like, what is that? But yeah, it's my bracelet. So it's not like you jump realities from here to here and that's it. It's not like you're either here or you're either here. It's more like a flow, or like a what do you call it? You know when people have that filter type thing on and they go like this, and then their hand kind of like imprints all the way, so you can see hand. It's like a blur, or it's like a, I don't know what it's called, but like that. It's kind of like that. You don't just jump here and you're here. It's more like it's like a flow, I guess. I don't know how to word it properly. The thread's interesting. It does feel like you are on a path of uncovering something here with this rainbow. It's like some kind of truth or some kind of like miracle or blessing. Now you have an opportunity. You can stay here in the desert. You've already completed what you need to here. There's something to do with like healing with this dark moon in the background. I'm not too sure what that is exactly, but I'll leave that there for now. I do want to read the book because this is a new deck, so there'll be like a couple of light and shadow aspects of both cards. Now they are in Roman numerals, which I'm not too bad with actually, but not a complete knower, let's say. So triple X is like 30, right? 37? Yeah, here we are. All right, so it says here, when it's in the light, it talks about surreal, strange, unexpected visions and silence. So it's like, you may be already very aware of like what's happening, like certain people are starting to fade away or like become less and less resonant, and it's because you're shifting and they are doing whatever they're doing, right? In the dark, it says drying, deadening, disorientating, and isolating. Like, I know it's hard when you plant a seed and it starts to grow, and then you're told like, okay, cool, you've done what you needed to. Now it's time to like move house and go over here, and you're like, but the seed's growing. I want to see what kind of plant it turns into, right? It's hard to just like let go of that when you cultivated it from like a seed, right? And it started to grow and you saw the first sprouts, and it's like once the sprouts coming into it, it's like, yes, life is emerging. And then you're kind of like, okay, cool, now you're over here. You just leave it to do its thing. It's going to grow on its own. So it's like, you know, but you want to sit there and watch it. That's kind of the the feeling that's coming through. All right, so LX, I'm pretty sure L is 50, so this must be 70, right? All right, the thread. This talks about the path, the vein, the circuit. It says when in light, it says the circuit is, what does that say? It's very small writing. The circuit of meaning with chaos, within chaos, meaning within chaos. So it's like the purpose and reason why something has occurred and something's now needing to shift or move on. And then the darkness says binding, frustrating, and taut. So it's like, I guess it's like no slack, right? Which kind of means like, I guess, look, you take this as you like, but it kind of does mean like it's time to like there's no more slack in the line to like let you be free or let you like go off into this old story. It's now time to move beyond. I'm just gonna shut the blinds, the sun's beaming in. All right, better. All right, but with what's falling down, sorry. So with what's falling down is the old facade, it looks like here, and you're starting to see the truth and the reason why. It could be something that like in your reality that's kind of mind-blowing in a sense of like you have noticed this all your life and you're like, why do I never get to see things through? Why do I start things or things start beginning and then I don't get the like reward or the recognition or the thing, I don't get something. This could be a theme throughout like childhood with parents, with like yourself, with like projects, with like friends, all the way up until now, right? Partnerships, all that kind of stuff, like certain things just like, why does this never like finally click in? And it's like you start to realize that you're not here to go from A to Z on every single thing. It doesn't mean you can't find happiness, you know, success, all that kind of stuff, but it's not in a very human way of being like, I start it, I finish it, I move on. This is, you're kind of like here to interject life or structure into a situation and then go. You know, you're not really necessarily here to stick around. So when you've been sticking around, sometimes it doesn't work out or things don't always go to plan, right? So this feels like that kind of energy, and you're starting to see the reason and the purpose why wandering in the desert or waiting around for fruition with some projects or something, right? Doesn't always work out. Yeah, there's like blessing in the unknown, and there's also kind of like disappointment in the unknown, right? Because you're like, well, what happens though? You'll understand in time. It's just not really something to sit and wait for. It's more of like you do a job here, you do a job here. You wouldn't think of someone who is a plumber being like, I need to see how this, like you want to make sure it all works, right? But you do the plumbing work. And then if you think to yourself, well, I also want to be around when people build the foundation, build the house. I want to see what it's like for the people to move in and use the appliances, but also use the whole house as a utility in general. You know, that's we would think that that's kind of weird, right? They're only there to install the plumbing, make sure the pipes are working, make sure the water's flowing, make sure it's clean, etc., etc. And that's kind of what you're here to do, is do certain jobs and tasks. So don't feel bad about it. Celebrate that you're here to kind of like maintain, repair, fix, or install, right? I don't know what that means, but like, you know, those kind of words. You're here to do those things, and then leave it for other people to learn their lessons, get their kind of like growth from that, without you having to like continually assist, let's say. It's meant to be unknown, and you're not meant to stick around and find out because you've already completed your job. All right, so this new reality, though, I think we're shifting. That's from the past. This is like the next. It's like a whole new rebuild, and from here onwards, things could change. Like all that stuff that's kind of coming into understanding and completion, and like more like clarity, more than completion, right? It's more like coming into clarity. Will give you an opportunity in this new reality this new timeline or whatever you want to call it to build, like literally to build on what you've learned over the past. Like you might be like, well, I don't want to just be the person who comes in, corrects something, fixes something, maintains something, installs something, and then leaves. I want to like do the whole thing from start to finish. Well, this could be your opportunity to do that. I don't know if it's going to be a clear cut, like boom, boom, but it could be, right? Depending on who you are and what else you've come to kind of do in this particular incarnation. You've got the dragon, yin and yang, supernatural, balance, and duality. This is nice. So it does feel like that could be very true with like, well, now I don't want to like be here so I can help this person be, learn their lessons, whatever, and then separate from them and then help someone else learn a lesson, separate from them, right? I want to have that complete end-to-end connection relationship, that kind of thing. This is where it kind of starts. I guess you have like far more free will, like we're talking about here when it's like taught, right? Because that's timed for the shift to occur. And this other side does actually have more of what you want, because it's not giving you anything. It's giving you more of the opportunity to create. And so the chaos kind of like, I was talking about this yesterday, actually, you know, chaos and light. You can build more in chaos. You change more in chaos, right? When your job kind of becomes redundant and you had no idea about it, just kind of blows up for whatever reason, like the company was dodgy or something. Like that's chaos, but you from that you get to, well, you have no choice. You have to leave the job, right? You can't just stick around and pretend it's not happening. But then you get like all these doors open up as like all these other opportunities. Some doors that you didn't even know were there kind of appear because now instead of focusing in on this one job, you can see a whole new opportunity in reality because you've kind of been forced to. I don't know where I was going with that, but I hope that kind of makes sense. I think it was more like chaos is not just craziness. It's more like things being thrown up so you can actually see everything in the air. And while everything's in the air, time stop, right? You can also see the foundations that are laying down. So you can start to build, is really where I was coming from, and start to find more balance and harmony in your life and not feeling like you're just like the Mr. or Mrs. Fix It here or repair here or start this here so someone else can kind of like have an extra beginning. This is almost like a new way of feeling and thinking as a soul incarnate to this human life. Which is really cool, and it also feels really fast. Things might start moving quickly for you in some direction. I don't know what, but if it's what you want, then that's fine, right? If it's in a direction that you want, you don't mind moving fast towards that. You've got the Guardian and Empty Cup. Yeah, this is like feeling like it's the past, right? You don't want to keep rebuilding on old stories. It's going to be a bit of a shift, like a bit of a tricky shift for you. And your higher self and your soul. Not saying that they can't handle it. It's just like this is a whole new way of thinking. Like the idea of, well, when I need to keep like finding someone else to fill my cup type thing. All these tasks give me purpose. You being here is purpose, right? You being here, just being you without doing anything, just sitting at home, you know, watching TV, that's purposeful and meaningful. And so I guess try to see that as truth. It's hard because we're human, right? We're kind of already chaotic. But anyway. But the Guardian Empty Cup talks about nature, disconnect, and neglect. So it could be like parts of yourself that have been neglected that are going to be more utilized moving forward for you. So this is a great shift for you. I wasn't sure at the start because I was talking about, unfinished business. And I was like, oh, okay, are you not moving or are you staying there? I think you have an opportunity to stay there and then move in time. But this is a great opportunity to move forward because, you know, stuff that didn't work out in the past and made you feel like, why don't I ever get the full picture? Or why don't I get from like why my partner was horrible to me? Why don't I get closure on like abuse? Why don't I get closure on this, that, and the other? It's about like realizing that there's no sustenance in that thinking, in that way of desiring an outcome or a completion, right? The completion is that it's in the past, that's already complete. Now is the time to like live, build, and you know, fiercely create. Fierce in a sense of like passion more so than like, you know, angry or anything. It's just like being very, very powerful, because you are powerful, right? So not just saying that to blow smoke, it's like really is, you don't get the dragon and the yin and yang for nothing. You've got the Elder with move beyond ancestral patterns. Yeah, if this is an ancestral, this could be just like old patterns for you. Your ancestors might not be just your actual current family. This could be like, that could be true, but it could also be like ancestral as in lifetimes of constantly trying to do things like this to get a different result. And it's like, this is the lifetime where you're in such a perfect place to drop those old cycles, learn from them, kind of like a judgment card kind of awakening type thing, coming to a complete understanding and then moving on. You also have the arrow. It says surround yourself with protective energy. Yeah, it's a good time to take a breath with this one and just sit with it. Arrows generally to me are like specific, right? Focused intention, focused energy, that kind of thing. So I would say with that, just take a moment. It's also, we're in Virgo, which is very kind of like intensely focused, right? Detail orientated type energy. I think the old school kind of version of like nitpicky and fanatical is kind of like out the window, or like very neat freak. That's probably very like maybe 1950s Virgo, right? Now I feel like they're more chill. Not just because I am Virgo sun, but just because it feels like that doesn't feel true in this moment. It does still mean they can, like, they have that energy to be that, but it's less, more prominent in the light and more like an old shadow kind of like self, right? So while you're in that energy, you're kind of impacted by it in some sense. So, you know, take your time, look after yourself, and really think and consider what is like the best for me. Just because you don't know what happens with some stuff doesn't mean that you weren't important or needed or integral for that project, for that that person, that relationship to grow. But I think moving forward, you're more focused on you and kind of finding balance within yourself and your environment, rather than your environment being like where you find meaning. Does that make sense? You find it within yourself. I'm saying it doesn't make sense like you're here, but hopefully like you verbally said yes, you understand, because I feel like some of you did. Anyway, let's grab some more cards. This feels really, really, really good. This shift feels so good for you. It doesn't mean it's just going to happen, right? This is like mindful taking note of the reality of how life has been and really releasing that as like, since it's past, right? Something that's been has passed. Something that was has passed. So really taking that into consideration while you uncover and create what's next for you, which feels like you'll have much more, like that's going to be the old thing of like building little bits here, little bits there, a little bit there. You'll still probably do that moving forward, but it'll be less and less, and it will feel like less of a, well, that's just my life type thing. This is just how it is. You know, no, you have full command over what's to come. How it comes in, probably not, but full command over what you want and desire to bring into this reality. Okay, let's have a look. You've got Snow, the 5 of Earth Guardians, kind of really touches in on the Guardian and the Empty Cup, because the 5 of Earth Guardians does touch on the old school style of, what would you call it? 5 of Pentacles, right? That neglected, that left outside in the cold and the snow. But this kind of feels like in the mountains, so it kind of feels like a higher perspective. Mountains to me always feel like breathtaking, awe-inspiring, sometimes like because where I've come from in New Zealand, or most of the large mountains are depicted as gods. So like actual living or like physical gods, right? So it is kind of that god energy, or what would you say, awe-inspiring energy. So you get to see like meaning and purpose moving forward. So like the stuff that was just seen as negative is kind of seen as like, oh, okay, I see that. I don't need to fully understand it and get like all the details and do anything about it. I just need to accept it, recognize it, appreciate it for what it was and what it meant in that time. But now I'm moving to what's new. So you have an opportunity to stay there if you want to in this past energy. It's completely up to you, but it can be kind of like seen as more snow than desert, because desert to me kind of feels like forever, which isn't true, but like it feels very much like for a long time. And there's like pitter patters of like water, right, which makes a lot of grass and things grow very quickly and then it's gone. Whereas the snow melts in time, even if it is in the mountains, in many cases. Okay. You also have equalizing power with the tower. Tower cards are generally like, this is a big shift and change, right? Which makes sense, but this is equalizing power, getting things back into balance, yin and yang, getting things more for you being of service to yourself and you being of service to others, people being of service to you, etc., etc. It feels more harmonious. Yeah. I think that's all I need to say about that one. Okay, smacking them all around. You also have 55 Whispers of the Universe. I like this because you can see like the whispers, right? It's kind of like not just seeing with your third eye, but seeing with your like higher self's kind of like vision. Like you actually really see how things are all interconnected. 6 of Activation, 6 of Swords representation. That moving from where you were to where you are, much more, yeah, you really are jumping ship and kind of like leaving the past behind in this case. Now, that does take effort though. This isn't like, oh good, the past is just going to go away from my mind and I'll just sit back and like let it happen. It's not quite like that, but it almost is in some way. There's like this aspect of, yes, that's true, but also this takes like effort as well, but it doesn't take effort through shadow work or anything. This takes effort through acceptance and compassion and kind of like loving care for self to move forward. Woo, I like this for you. You got the Pineal Pioneer. You could become very, very psychic moving forward. If it's not psychic, like if you're like, oh, that's not me, super intuitive, like recognizing that this is not the right path to go down, so I'm not interested in it. Like if you're walking down a street, right? It's like, this alleyway looks dodgy. This other one could like have fluffy pink rainbows and look really pretty, and you're still like, no, something's not right there, and you'll go around it. That kind of thing. Or this person that you've met, you smile, you get to know them, your first instinct, something's not quite right. Doesn't mean you'd like get up and run away, right? But you'll start to like be paid attention to like the signs and symbols. You really don't have to fall back into old stories, but you are starting to conceptualize and create something that's much better. So don't be afraid, or like don't be too stubborn with yourself that you need to stay in this old energy, because it's done, it's kind of completed. You've finished your task here on this side of the Book of Earth, right? The Book of Earth story. This new thing that's coming through is really like external but internal. It's both. It's harmony. It's not seeing masculine or feminine as even separate from each other. It's just different aspects of the same circle, right? The same yin and yang, the moon and the sun. It's all much intertwined and connected. So yeah, we might even see masculinity, femininity as lesser of a thing moving forward. But that's probably like, you know, down the track, doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, there's this precision with this focus of the Ace of Activation. That's like, this is an awakening type setting where you get to see and understand the connection between all things. Sometimes you'll see that in the past and you'll be like, but that doesn't make me happy, so you've kind of blocked it off, right? But now it's kind of like, oh, okay, I get to see it. I get to really, really see it. And I, regardless of what's actually happened in the past, it's like, I can create more from the matrix that is reality moving forward and have more of a say rather than just an expectation of who I should be. This could be even like move beyond ancestral, could be even like soul family patterns, right? Soul family could have like a routine of, you know, sometimes small pocket soul families, like especially human ones. They'll be like, okay, I'm going to be the father and I'll be the abusive one and you be the mother, and like we'll swap, and then next life we'll try to fix this in this lifetime, and or you'll be the one that actually kicks me out and stands up, and then we'll get that sorted. And then they kind of jump around the same family and they're like, oh, I'll be the kid this time, and maybe then there's no abuse or anything, but it's like they're trying to like just keep, it gets too incestuous, I guess. Like it's not really incest, but you know what I mean? It's just like too much. It gets a bit too much. So yeah, I don't think that's your soul path or family. I think that's just like an example. But like, yeah, you don't have to do that at a soul family kind of level as well. This is really big, I feel. This may have played out in your life too, because stuff that happens up there does have translation down here. If two kind of souls start to not really meet each other's expectations and shift paths, and down here you like, because sometimes I've seen that, and down here I'm like, well, that's got nothing to do with me. And then I've been like, do, and then it's just something random, like almost nothing blows up the relationship. And I'm being like, oh, okay, I did see that coming, but I was like, well, that's not going to happen to me, just because up there things are kind of like shifting, right? Whether it's amicable or not argumentative, it's just like a difference of like path shift. And yeah, it happens down here in different ways. How does it all work? No idea. But anyway, I think that's going to be all for you, pile number 1. It's kind of like a very, very long reading, but this is an exciting shift for you. I don't really have any way of summarizing it. You'll just have to re-listen to it if you want to get more details. But it is like a big shift. Don't stay where you are if you don't want to. If you want to see things grow to fruition, feel free. However, I don't know if it's going to give you exactly what you want, because the cord will eventually get very, very taut where it starts to struggle, and that's no place for this tower to turn into something that just forces your hand, right? You want to be the one that kind of like utilizes it as, like it says here, equalizing power, bringing balance and structure and strength, rather than a destruction, so you rebuild from that in a more challenging way. You don't need that. Kind of trust the process type reading. Okay. Thank you for letting me read for you, Part 1. Take care of yourself, look after yourself, and I will see you next time. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. I just want to say the recording at the time, although I'll be cutting out the, the pauses and shuffling in between readings. But I did reach 44 minutes, 44 seconds, just as I started. We won't show that on the actual recording because I cut the things out, but just on the raw recording, that's what it was. So it's just interesting. But you've chosen anyway to get into your reading. You've chosen Iolite, magical powers, feminine, divine, work connections, and inspiration. There's 2 songs that were kind of like, well, not 2 songs, 1 song, one kind of like interesting energy. One was like the very delicate aspect or the softer energy of femininity, and then the song that was playing in my head was Dangerous Woman from Ariana Grande, I think it is, the little chick. So yeah, that's what was coming up. Anyway, don't know how that relates to your reading. This is all about what energy or what shifts are occurring in your reality right now, so we'll see what comes through, right? Lots of fun cards here today. I really like this. It does does really play on like interesting energy. Like I said at the start, there was pile 1, pile 2, and then there was pile 3. So it felt kind of very much like, if you want to watch all of them, feel free. If you want to watch pile 3, watch that as like additional information. But I think like Spirit was really pulling towards 2 piles. I just think it's very polarizing. I like to have at least 3. But you picked one of the 2, I feel. Okay, flip, flip, flip. Oh, interesting. The vessel. The body. Okay. It's interesting here because she's like coming out of an egg, right? Or some kind of like it kind of reminds me, I think in some countries it was banned, but like those plastic things from Kinder Surprises. I think they were choking hazards, which was kind of funny because I used to shove them in my mouth and like play with them. So surprised I didn't choke on it. But anyway, kind of like is coming out of that, and she's holding her private parts, right? Which kind of means like this is a vulnerable time, and we are talking about feminine energy, so softer energy being exposed. There's kind of like challenge with that, but also a lot of like heart and love with that as well. Okay, I'm going to take this one and this one, or this one. We'll take this one. So we're getting a few here. But yeah, I feel like we're gonna be really talking about the body. Thought I'll just move these to the side because these will take up a bit of space. So these my cards, these ones are my cards that I've created. Not the artwork that's been done by I got commissioned a friend who also does streaming. Not so much tarot or like spiritual stuff, but like very much in the flow of his artwork. Like when he's in the flow, he's in the flow. Okay. There was a card that popped out and then I lost it, so I'm just gonna shuffle until I get it back. Okay, there we go. This does feel really good for you. It feels like the calm after the storm, not before. This is like the rest period, so it does feel good for you. I think you've kind of completed what you've needed to do. And so now you've unlocked parts of yourself, and it's now time to enjoy those like lovely aspects of who you are, right? Whether it was a hard and it felt like it was a loss before, or it felt like it was a win. Regardless, this is the recovery stage. This is kind of like the ice bath after the, I don't know, the workout or whatever. This is like the relaxation, the me time. There's a card in here. There we go. Okay, we'll take a look at these ones in a sec. We'll just have a look because we've got a lot of cards out. This way. You've got a gape, which is interesting, and the one. Goodness, the one. The one, the vessel, a gape. Yeah, this feels like an expansion of your soul. So I guess well, I say guess, but it feels like the shift for you is actually kind of like, you know, there's like an awakening, I guess, in the beginning of your awakening, if you've kind of gone through those kind of steps, let's say. And it doesn't matter if you have or haven't. This isn't about judgment, right? This is just about a feeling that I'm kind of touching on. So if you've gone through some kind of like connection awakening where you recognize that many things are to be true or feel right and true, right, that before might have seemed like woo-woo. It's kind of like this part is more of the soul's expansion or awakening in a sense, which I don't really know how that's going to be for you. It's going to be exposing, I feel, or opening and vulnerable, but it also is a good place to be instead of structured, rigid, and closed off. This is like an opening up for you down here. It feels like a new kind of like level up for your soul, which is kind of crazy to say, but like that's just how it feels. I can't really budge that one. You've got the buff priest and the honeypot. Honeypots always just make me think of you know, how spies kind of like have an attractive person to kind of seduce someone to get information or whatever. It's kind of like that in a sense, but the buff priest has like a really interesting story. This talks about organizations, history, and weird. It's like, it's kind of like when you look back, it's like how there was some strange crap in your life, right? There was like, maybe you saw aliens or like angels or like demons or like whatever, like in the path of life, right? Or like certain things would just happen, and it's like you would be overseas somewhere in like a very secluded country, and you would see an ex or like your ex's parents or something random like that. And it's like, how did that happen? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, how did these people cross at that time so synchronistically when this person wasn't supposed to be there? They just got delayed and transferred to this other place, or you know what I mean? It's like a lot of coincidence. Like you might have had a lot of that kind of stuff happening with the weirdness. But the organization history really touches on this person who's gone from fighting to not fighting, and be like, wow, that's a big difference. But really, he's just been passed around from one organization, which is very strict with like army, right? To priesthood, which is like, you know, you have to do this, like it's very kind of like much the same, but very different. Does it make sense? So this could feel like you actually don't feel like you've changed too much, but like things in life will become more comprehensible and understandable of like how things work. So it is kind of like an awakening in a sense. It's like, oh, this is why the butterfly was flying past me, it was warning me of something. Even though in the past you might think it's a butterfly, why would it talk to you, you crazy? But it's just like, it makes sense. It just, things just make sense. Don't try to think about it too much. It's just like, that makes sense. Doesn't matter if anyone believes me or not, because it doesn't matter. It makes sense. They're just getting me to read these three, which is kind of annoying because this book is tiny, but I'll have a look. Plus it's Roman numerals and I'm okay with them. But yeah. So I think this is, this one's 64? Yep. Nope. No, 69. Okay. Yeah, 69. All right, it says here, when in light, it says stable, strong, and graceful. When in dark, trapped, being in a bubble. So yeah, stable, graceful. That makes sense, stable and graceful. This next step is going to be so much more like it's kind of like, there's like an aspect of challenge, but there's also an aspect more of being in the flow rather than trying to control the flow. I mean, that's going to be an opportunity. And now I've got XXX, which is 30, right? Not anything naughty. Yeah, the one says here, when in light, it says serves, loves, accepts, and resonates. When in shadow, ignores, omits, and excludes. Yeah, it doesn't feel like you're going down that path, this omitting or servicing and loves. It's like this freedom. Like this almost feels like you've become free in some way. And I'll just read the agape, LXXI, or whatever that is, 72? I remember learning Roman numerals at high school or like primary school, and it's just stuck in my head. Which I'm kind of glad now, because it's going to help with these annoying numbers. All right, again, it says here, service again. So it is talking about your light. Oops, where's my finger there? Revenance, honor, and joy. And I think the revenance here as well, of like being of service to others. Being like, you've done your bit here, you've done this bit in this job, you've done your work. now this is a new phase of life. I feel like this is a big cutting point. Or you're like in that big transition. It could be like a 2-3 year transition, right? But you're in a transitional period. In the shadow, it says spiritual bypassing righteousness. I would say don't do that. Don't do any spiritual bypassing. It's not going to work. You can kind of like do that in a way, and you can see people do that, and then they get like almost like, what's coming to mind is probably inappropriate, but it's like almost bitch slapped by the universe. Like, you know what I mean? To like, yes, you got your little bits and skills, but then you get kind of like smacked down in a way, because it's not like the universe is doing it. You've done it to yourself by reaching for something that was like a gift for you in time, not to be just taken off the shelf. It was like, it's kind of like getting inheritance by just stealing the property title from your parents before they passed, right? So it's kind of like shitty in a way. Not that you would have done that, but you know what I mean? So don't bypass, essentially. Ooh, I love this card. You also have Boitata with Tikpaddle, Defender, Nature, Fire, and Sacrifice. Yeah, you've kind of done with the sacrifice aspect of your life. This is more of like getting into real service, not just being there for others and that's it, but really finding meaning and light in the work and the commitments that you make to people and others. Yeah, basically that's it. So you're coming into a vulnerable time, seeing yourself as holy and spiritual and like part of source energy, right? Whereas you might have said that before, but this is like the actual feeling like that's true, instead of kind of just like telling yourself. So this is really cool. Yeah, you've got go for it, earnest enthusiasm. I think you're really like already on board with everything. You're like dialed in. The song that I was talking about with Dangerous Woman wasn't really like dangerous. It was just more empowered, right? It's kind of like when old movies kind of talk about like, you know, a woman who stands up for herself. The men or whatever will call her kind of like a bitch or something like that, right? And or like say that she's difficult to work with or something like that, when really she's just empowered. And so instead of worrying about what those idiots are saying, it's more like, I don't care. I'm doing exactly what I feel is correct for me. I'm doing what's right for me. So this is like why it's softer feminism. Sorry, not feminism, but feminine energy. It's like really, what is it? It's like really empowering as well. It's like you can find really good balance with like the strength of the feminine and also the softness of the feminine. Not seeing like strength is here, which is better, and feminine is here, because it ends up turning into like toxic kind of like energy, right? Or like imbalanced, and it's too heavy or hard, and the softness kind of like comes down. So with like wherever you are on it, you could be like utilizing it here and not standing up for yourself type thing. It's getting into balance. It's like now is the time to empower yourself by making a choice that's based off your desires and needs. I know this is something that's shifting in your reality, but it could be, this might be like a snap finger mind shift down here. In the upper realms, I don't know for you individually, but it does feel like your soul gem is kind of like being shifted. It's like instead of thinking that you were looking for a crystal or a gem or something to complete you outside of yourself, right? It's just unlocking that crystal or gem within you. Rest and rediscover. I think I said that at the beginning. Did I? I can't remember. But yeah, going from, this does feel like a rest period. This feels like a flow period. So when we talk about rest, sometimes we can think of like after a hard day's work, right? But recess, we can feel like this is a break to have our mental energy refill its cups, have our creation energy refilled. So this is really good. You've jumped into a really good timeline. Whether you think you have or not, it feels like it's a good one anyway. You've got the warrior coming through. This is where the dangerous woman is coming through. It's obviously not a feminine energy. It's actually depicted as a Māori male from New Zealand, right? Which I'm from New Zealand, so, and also Māori, so it's like really nice here. But it says be fearless and stand strong. This isn't about being a brute, right? This is just about owning who you are, all parts of you, even the parts that are more seen as delicate or like intimate, right? It's like really letting that out. Doesn't mean you flash your boobs or anything, but you know what I mean? It's just like, it's more like you don't judge or criticize or any aspect of you. Oh, and you don't let like people walk over you, right? And then you got trust your instincts with animal guardian. This is where I think Boitata comes through. Boitata is a spirit from the Amazon. That's how I think of him anyways, from like that area of the world. Brazil's pretty gigantic, right? So it's like the Amazon, and he kind of is a defender of like the plants, the animals, like creation, and kind of like a punisher for people who destroy, burn, pollute, like that kind of thing. So it's like, you know, getting back into who you really are. This is also an angel depiction. The guardians in this deck are angels, so it's like you are divinely guided to this. There's lots of like messengers, intuition. You know, even the panther kind of sometimes feels like sneaky, but it's really just like embracing all aspects of ourselves that even we may not want to always embrace, like our shadow side. Getting into a point of, instead of fighting the shadow or doing shadow work, there's no such thing as shadow work, like it feels like with this reading. I'm not going to say that that's true for everyone, but it's like shadow work is no longer shadow work. Shadow work is speaking to your shadow and having a conversation. So this is a very cool reality change anyway. But yeah, getting back to basics as well. You might even see in your world people starting to formulate groups where there's community gardens or like communal stuff. That might be in the future. If you're not even interested in that, it's fine, but maybe you'll start planting seeds of like fruit trees, or be like, where are the bees? Why are there no bees? Well, I don't actually have any plants for bees. Maybe I should start planting them that are native to my area or native to the country that I live in. You know, maybe get a beehive. I don't know. There's like lots of opportunity here. Oh, beehive, right? Honey. I don't know. That just popped up. Why not? What's the harm? You learn a new skill. You learn by trial and error, right? Can be tough. There might be times where some of the bees move on, or the hive gets too big and they swarm and leave. And then you realize, okay, I need to separate them. There might be a community of people that also have bees, right? So you can learn different skills. You watch online. You know, there's a lot of like stuff and a lot of resources. This could be a very nice time to figure out a way to connect with nature, or connect with the nature of you, or both. Okay, this is turning into a really long reading. But I feel really excited, like I'm hyped. I'm not usually like hyped up, and you can probably tell by my tone that I probably don't sound super hyped, but I am really hyped for this. This whole reading feels very exciting. Alright, so we've got the Whispers of the Universe. I love this. It touches on the connection between all things. You might even start to see things from above and below. I don't think you need to see it, but you'll feel it and you'll know it's right. You won't question it. You won't even need to get readings or anything from people. They'll just be like confirmation rather than anything else. And some of the readings might actually be complete opposite from what you were feeling. And that's just more like your guides being like, remember to trust yourself. You're getting this reading not because the reading's wrong, but like because you're asking for confirmation when you already know it's 100% correct, right, for you. You have the Meadow, Ace of Earth Guardians. Yeah, this is a new way of being you. And the meadow is really nice, like the gardens, right? The flowers. I remember seeing a picture of this couple who bought like a huge amount of land, and they planted all these native trees, and then they showed it 20 years later, and it's like a jungle and forest, and it's got like new species, like not new species, but old species are back that weren't there, they were kind of gone. So, you know, we really do have an opportunity to change not just ourselves, but our environments. And sometimes that is, we can do it by, you know, the tree way, right? Or like the self-help way, or like supporting others, or even just doing a job that feels self-honoring and also of service to others. It really is, it almost feels like it's a really beautiful thing. That's what I'm getting in my head. It's not like, instead of trying to be something or trying to get this or getting this thing that'll make me happy, it's like, if that was true, then every single rich person would be elated, right? They would be the most spiritual because they have reached the pinnacle of like a billionaire. But they're always searching for something else. I've even watched a billionaire show where one billionaire was like kind of jealous of another billionaire because they had more billions, which they weren't ever going to spend anyway. And it's kind of like, you know, what the hell? Like, that's where your mind goes. Jealousy. You have enough money to, you can't even spend it all in this lifetime, and you're worried about someone else's money. It's just, it's like, that'll be so far in the past, it'll be almost like a foreign idea. And to you in time, it's kind of like that doesn't even resonate on any kind of level. Okay. I love the priestess of portals to you, because this is, priestess is that high feminine energy, portals is cups, and you can see here with plants, it's like growth. There's like a little bug here, a little ladybug, which are really good defenders of our plants as well, because they get rid of aphids, right? So it's kind of like learning old skills in a new world. Going back to basics, but not taking, like, not going back to like old stuff. It's just like getting back to nature. Feels very strong here. Yeah, sure, we can take this one. And then you've got the mountains, Paladin of Earth Guardians. So yeah, I think this is just, regardless of the mountains, doesn't feel like the mountains or anything you have to like focus in on. This just feels like it was kind of like a half-half purpose of this card, but the Paladins of Earth Guardians is that one who lets go, who makes strides forward, who plans, strategizes, moves forward. So your future is like an opportunity to kind of like explore new dimensions and realities. This shift is like already occurring for you, and you're kind of like hyped up to go for it. This little guy, I can't remember his name in the cards, but he pretty much just always says vroom, vroom, and like he's always on the go, right? But in a positive sense, like he also brings into the group like an air of like happiness, right? A vibe for life. And then he's right next to the warrior, who seems more serious, but very like not guarded, but just very proud. Not in a prideful way, just in a very proud way, I guess, which could be seen as prideful, but I think old school pride is more like almost like selfishness in a sense, or like greed, right? Whereas, or like too proud to ask for help, that kind of thing when they need assistance. This is more like being proud of who you are, what you've accomplished, what you've achieved, and where you're going, in a very kind of like fierce way. It's a really nice reading, honestly. This feels really great. The environments are going to be important to you, the like where you go through next, the history of who you are, like all that kind of stuff. Like unlocking parts of yourself. If you're super into like spiritual certain things, you might even be looking at past lives, aspects of self that have kind of like finished and completed. Certain things might open up from a past life that were locked away, and so you've overcome some things. I think if we did this reading like 10 years ago, it would be so completely different. But because people sometimes talk about, oh, I'm going to get through all these things in life so I don't have to reincarnate. I think you're getting through a lot of stuff in life. It doesn't mean you don't reincarnate again. You might go here, somewhere else, wherever. But like, it'll be more like, instead of coming to Earth to release some karmic thing, you'll come here for like some kind of help or assistance or service, right? And so you won't have to go through whatever you've gone through in this life. Feels like you're actually finally coming to a completion with that. That felt all channeled, so take that with a grain of salt or whatever. But anywho, really nice. Priestess of Portals, Queen of Cups, that psychic intuitive right next to here. The Six of Activations, kind of similar to the Six of Swords, moving on from the past and into this new space for you. Okay, well, that is your reading. So hopefully you've enjoyed. Thank you so much for letting me read for you today, pile number 2. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time. Hello, pile number 3. Welcome to your reading. So, like I said at the beginning, I don't feel like there was going to be 3 piles, but I felt to also do 3 piles. So it's kind of like you can do 2 if you want, or you can do more if you want to. So it's going to be a really interesting one, especially if you've just picked this standalone without picking 1 or 2. Don't worry, you don't have to pick 1 or 2. This may be the perfect message for you. Because remember, this is about a shift that's occurring in your reality now. You have Carnelian with self-trust, relationship rejuvenation, powers of concentration, and healing from abuse. I feel like we're probably going to go hickledy-pickledy all over the place with this reading. So listen to certain parts or bits and pieces that really do resonate for you. This is definitely like a shift that's bringing in a higher version of yourself, right? Not this like version who longing is waiting for something to just happen. This is like a time of empowerment and a space to really release some of the like small attachments that you have to things. Maybe even attachments to yourself. Like, I don't know. It's just like, it feels like, you know, how people talk about negative energy attaching. It might not be an actual like being, right? Not like a demon attaching, but it might be just like a toxic energy or something that just doesn't need to be there anymore. It's like, it might not even be negative. It might just be stagnant. It's kind of like stagnant water isn't negative water, right? We don't drink it because it's stagnant, but it's not negative. It's going to be useful for something, but it's just not, doesn't feel alive, right? So this is giving you back some life. And what a great card, especially Crystal, to do that, bringing in the power. Okay, that one really wants to come through, so grab that. Okay, just take these 2. I'm gonna take this one. You can see this is a majority oracle card reading. This deck here does have links to tarot, but very much like in a new world format rather than the old world, which is nothing wrong with the old world, right? There's purpose and lessons in learning, but even some of the meanings of the cards have transformed. Like Fool kind of feels like an actual fool, right? And Death kind of feels like an actual death, which really it's not. It's like transformative, but also I think in a new kind of world, it's about rebirth more so. Anywho, of course, take that with a grain of salt. You know, this is your reading. You also participate, so if you see a card that to you really speaks to a specific meaning, then regardless of what I say, like of course listen in and see how it may resonate for like extra details. Okay, you want these 3. But always trust your intuition. So let's take a look at these cards because there's probably enough out. You've got the Starborn and the Kiss. Ooh. It's just interesting. Yeah, definitely a reality where you probably already know parts of like your soul's journey. You know, you resonate with like Andromedans or like this starseed or that starseed or Earth Angel or like even a human, right? Not one is better than the other. If you see one is more higher than the other, then this is probably not going to be a reading. I don't know if any of the readings are going to be a reading, but listen in anyway because maybe you'll like learn something. But the Starborn, this is like an aspect of you waking up and really being like you actually. It's kind of like you did the research, you actually understand some of the history of your soul, and now this is like the part where you get to really see it in 3D becoming a utilization of tool rather than just a cute story from the past, right? And the Kiss, what is Kiss? It's like it's kind of like an emotional kind of gesture, right? Or like here with the hand holding, it's kind of like it can be melancholy, right? You kiss departed loved one. Sorry, there's like a plane flying over or a helicopter or something like that. Very low. Maybe they're looking for something. Maybe they're looking for your starseed family, right? Found some aliens. Anyway, but you've also got the Kiss. That's just a joke, but maybe not. Who knows? Yeah, so you've got the Kiss as well, which it just feels like a sweet gesture. There's kind of like some melancholy here too, but there's also like excitement. It's like your first kiss, you'll probably always remember. But like I said, with the kissing of departing of like a loved one, there's like an energy of now is a good time to heal, a good time to move on from. I think Chiron is still in retrograde until the end of the year. So Chiron, the wounded healer, you're able to like heal while moving. You're able to progress while healing as well. I think there's like a card in one deck that's healing through the chaos or healing in the chaos. It's kind of like you're able to do that. You're able to utilize that energy in a healing sense or modality. So you've got the Vigilante and the Talisman, Direction, Breaking Point, and Challenge. Yeah, this does speak to a lot of like difficulties in this lifetime. You might have picked a path that had some doozies, let's just say that, or it's kind of interesting because you might also be a person who hasn't picked difficult challenges but has picked a body or like a physical ailment or like something, I don't know, because there's like two sides, right? Could have picked a abusive family or a difficult kind of upbringing. Another one, you could have picked like physical ailments or just like a very difficult mental illness or something like that. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to like label anything, but it's just like very feels like that is true. And so there might have been a lot of like wanting out of this life, right? But the talisman always guides us to do what is like in our highest good and what is right. And you're here and you're like, congratulate yourself for getting to where you are. The kiss almost feels like for this part of the reading is like your guides applaud you or acknowledge your work, acknowledge your like choices, right? The challenges, the things like that. Because really, Vigilante in the story is like someone who is kind of like almost like not really enslaved, but kind of like is treated like poorly, kind of like if we have like a government that treats like certain people really poorly, right? Puts them into slums, that kind of thing. And this is like the resistance, right? Like kind of like in World War II with the French, like the French resistance kind of people coming through and wanting to get back what's theirs, right? Or like be treated fairly or whatever it is. It's kind of like this is the getting pushed to like really difficult situations. I feel like hopefully that there's an opportunity to release some of that fight or flight energy. And that shift should come through. Let's have a look. Yeah, duality and balance. your past doesn't have to define you from here onwards. Even if you've done some shitty things, or other people have done shitty things to you, or you only view it as like one person or the way or the other, like you were the bad guy, they were the good guy, or vice versa, right? This is not about judgment of any of that. This is definitely a shift of recognizing that the breaking point, like the egg starting to hatch, they're like vigilante starting to claim back or like make a stand, because the life isn't worth to perpetually hurt yourself, right? This is like a shift that's occurring where it's like a breakthrough, I want to say. You've got don't be silly, reassess the seriousness, which confuses some people sometimes, but my idea from this is sometimes we can take things too seriously, so seriously that we turn silly, right? It's kind of like awakening and thinking we're in the light, but we're actually in judgment and criticism because we think we're so much better. So we're actually in shadow, but we're so far in the light we think we're in the shadow, right? Or like we think we're so serious and doing what's right that we're almost making everything out to be too over serious, and it's like we're actually silly. So this could be like either way, take it either way. You could be like needing to make some new boundaries, make some new steps, have good healthy boundaries, reassess boundaries, that kind of thing. Or it could be like not taking life so seriously, or taking like the past is so imprinted or oppressive in your current reality. But that's up to you. Yeah, from here you've opened up the door to you work your magic and not just create new things for the sake of creating new things, but neutralizing or bringing in harmony, utilizing your masculine energy. This is definitely like more masculine energy with this reading. There's a lot of like strong masculine energy, and if you find that cringy, especially if like the masculine's been difficult, there's meaning and purpose into this, so do what you want to do with that message, but this is touching on the masculine. And when we overuse it, or we start to hate the masculine, right, or overuse it in ourselves, whether we're male or female, it's like this masculine energy. It either needs to be calmed or like brought up and uplifted into a balanced state. Not like one has to be better than the other. It's just like not even seeing better or worse. It's just like seeing harmony, seeing a way to work your energy in this new phase. The shift is like clearing. It's not like a big clear out of the past, but it's like a no longer letting the past rule today. Okay, there's a lot of cards here, so I'm just going to grab them. So you've got Mother Earth. It says, feel loved and comforted. I like that for you. You have the Protection Guardian, would drop your shields. Kind of like what I'm talking about with this reading, you know, starting to self-soothe, to harmonize, to like let yourself be honest with yourself. And then dropping your shields is not to put up walls, to like feel like you're always on attack, like you're not always, like a vigilante isn't doing this to like do the opposite of what, like to oppress the other people. They just want to feel seen, heard, or appreciated, or at least like respected as just for being themselves, right? They don't want to be have a limited life or anything like that. It's kind of like why, you know, going back to the French again, they kind of got out the rich people, right? The kings and queens and that kind of thing, cut their heads off and shit, and like overthrew all that. I think this might even be like an anniversary with some of the certain planets coming into a new star sign. Like this might be like a revolution of that, like a revolving around the, I don't know, but I think I heard it somewhere. But anyway, if that's true or not, I can't remember. But whenever that happened, some planet was in some sign. That's all I got to say about that. And that's coming around again. So that kind of energy of like, okay, we're not going to put up with this kind of stuff. But we're not doing it because we just want to keep fighting, right? We actually want to get into balance and harmony and a place where we feel we can do things rather than being overlooked or just like seen as lesser than. And you've got the Stargate. Yep, set your sights higher. You can't play in here. You can obviously feel loved and comforted within yourself. But the stargazer, set your sights higher. Picture a world that's better than even the one you're picturing, because that is a real reality, a real possibility. The shift is like an opening to being able to freely create instead of just survive. Okay. Because you can allow your guides to protect you, or like your good intuition to be able to fall back on and trust that whatever happens you'll be able to get through without needing to build up walls, build up like a huge amount of defense, be aggressive. You know, this is definitely not the time of that. That's old. That's old. And it doesn't really help anyway, right? I watched this dating show. It's like First Dates UK, and there's an Australian version as well. But like you kind of see that. You see people who come on, they've been hurt in the past, and so they ask really pointed questions. They're kind of like very like, I'm very loud, I'm this, I'm that. You know, they need to like force themselves onto the person, like, this is who I am. If you don't like it, but it's like, just breathe, right? Just calm your tits. Like, you don't have to say exactly who you are, where you've come from, or like anything like that. Just like sit, get to know each other. Doesn't mean you have to be with them, right? It's just a first date. Just relax, that kind of thing. So you might get into a place where you feel like you don't have to prove yourself, because you never had to anyway. Ooh, strength. This card doesn't come out often. Look how beautiful it is. It's like the power of the earth right next to Mother Earth. Power within you, the power of like your soul or source. It's really, really nice. You've got the Sage of Activations. It kind of like locks into this card, like the colors. Look at the colors. Like they really are synchronistics, completely different deck as well. Sage of Activations, logic and structure. Don't worry, you still get to be very present. Like the Strength card isn't like about oppressing, right? The original picture isn't the guy or the woman punching the lion in the face and fighting him, right? That's not what's happening. It's like she overcomes her fears by no longer being fearful. But you still get to plan. You've learned lots of lessons. You can really utilize your the blessing of like afterthought, or getting where you are to like that's what I mean. You don't have to prove yourself. You're like super smart, super intelligent anyway. I don't even need to say it to you. Like, do you know what I mean? You have really strong intuition. Even though he's like kind of like the activations of sword, it's also like an awakening. Like the activation's like a switch, right? It turns on the lights, which touches not just on the logical mind, it also touches on the intuitive nature of like the pineal gland, or just like the conceptualization of being able to create something out of either nothing or little. Resourcefulness. You've got Snow, the 5 of Earth Guardians. Yeah, getting out of the neglected mentality. I'm not saying if you were neglected or like hurt that was okay, right? This is just like you're not in that energy anymore, so you don't have to live in that poor man's or poor woman's or like poor mentality. When I mean poor, I mean just like lower than. You're much more powerful than that. All right, and last card, you've got Equalizing Power. Yeah, this again touches on this. Like you're out of that fight or flight. This is the Tower card, and you know, traditional tarot talks more about like big shifts, big changes. This is a big shift for you. It's going to lead to more big shifts, and they're not going to be just difficult. This is the shift that you're kind of shifting into in this reality is really like to harmonize, to blend, blended pleasure. So I guess for some of you, you might have even looked at it like, oh, but this is coming up. That like old stuff is coming up, so it doesn't sound like it's working. It's like, no, that's coming up to remind you of what you're like no longer experiencing. It's just like an opportunity to leave it in the past or evolve from it, like, you know, this healing from abuse energy, trusting in self, trusting in the goodness within you. You might even get to let her out a bit more, this like strong feminine energy. But in a, like, when I say strong, I mean empowered, not just aggressive or forceful, right? But like I said, this is a hickory-pickory, which I don't know what that means, but it's something my mom used to say, which kind of just means like this, that, or the other. It's like a bits and pieces type message. So take what resonates and leave what doesn't. The story is really clinging to this like fight or flight energy that has kind of traversed into this world. Now the shifts occurred, you are releasing that. You're no longer that person who was in danger or in poverty or in something like that. That's the old. The new you is no longer judging that aspect of yourself or others, seeing it as like the foundation of strength, logic, and like power, and to be able to, you know, move towards whatever's next for you. So this is more like sitting in what's true now and what was true in the past, recognizing the distinction being past and present, and then, you know, being able to conceptualize and create what you want moving forward. Okay, well, that is it for me doing this reading, pile number 3. Hopefully this really helped you. If it does, please leave a message. It's a kind of like a big one, right? I didn't think this one would be, but I guess this is like an add-on for the other piles as well, if you were drawn to 1 or 2. But if not, take this as like your reading and take whichever parts really resonate. It's really an empowering reading of like taking ownership of like where you are and who you are, and no longer being ruled by the past. So it's a good shift in that sense. But it's going to be an interesting one, right? So take care of yourself, look after yourself, be kind to everyone, and I'll see you next time.